Happy holidays, everyone. Sydney Strong taking over the podcast again today to lead a very important conversation on giving back during the holiday season. The Maryland Made podcast provides timely, relevant, and practical information to empower the student athletes to explore their potentials and pursue their passions. 'Tis the season of giving. I am grateful to be able to have this conversation today with special guest Yenny Lucero, Development and Communication Specialist at Prince George's Child Resource Center. Let's dive into this conversation regarding the importance of community, the collaboration between the Prince George's Child Resource Center and Maryland Athletics, and how to get involved to leave an impact. So our first segment is going to be, what is community? Yenny, to start this conversation, share with us your background and why you chose to do this work within the community.
As a Prince Georgian, a pretty much lifelong Prince Georgian, this is very important for me to be able to be part of the foundation. So at Prince George's Child Resource Center, our focus is early childhood education. Our focus is a second generation approach to make sure that we are providing services not only for the child, but also for the family at large, for the parents, because that way it's equitable and that way we take all things into consideration. So to be able to be part of the foundation of early childhood education, and the way that I've heard it referred to a little while ago, or a few years ago, I would say, is building brains. So early childhood educators are building brains. So that to me sounds so powerful. So imagine if you are able to give a child a healthy start and the parents all of the tools that child needs so that they can thrive, not only in the present, but in the future, if they're armed with the tools that they need to be able to be productive citizens, to be able to enter school ready to learn, to be able to give back when they're adults to their community. So that, more than anything, that is what has been my pull with the Resource Center, and why it's so important for me to continue to do the work that I do and advocate for children and families in Prince George's County.
That is awesome. So that leads into my next section. Tell me more about the Prince George's County Resource Center's mission, vision, and scope of work. And why is this organization so instrumental in the overall success of the community?
So Prince George's Child Resource Center, our mission is to help create healthy and nurturing environments for children by supporting their families and educating their caregivers. Our vision is that at Prince George's Child Resource Center, we envision vibrant, healthy communities where individuals and families care, support, and advocate for each other, and invest in creating opportunities for children to thrive. So we do this through early childhood education. We do this through home visiting. We do this through family support services. We do this through advocacy and early childhood mental health services. So our idea is to not provide a cookie cutter service to each family, because each family and each child has their own strengths and weaknesses. So how can we work with each family to make sure that we build on the strengths that they already have, and so that we make sure that we set goals and that are reasonable for that family, and that may not necessarily apply to all families, and to be able to approach these families with cultural humility. We are in a space in a county that is very diverse. So how do we do that in a respectful way and with dignity, more than anything, with dignity for the families that we serve? And I think that we've been able to to do that by having intentional conversations about equity, being intentional about looking at our work through an equity lens, and making sure that we try to understand and to scratch the surface of undoing some of the systemic systems that have been in place that have prevented all families to thrive equally.
Awesome. So to me, it sounds like you and your organization meet people where they are at and then prepare them all to be able to succeed in each part of their family for success.
Yes, that's the gist of it.
That's great. That is great. Outside of our collaboration, which we will get to shortly, what is another initiative that brings you pride when working within the PG County community?
Okay, so during so 2020, everyone knows March 2020 is just everything shifted for all of us, right? So we had to close our doors at first, what we thought for 2 weeks, and then a few more weeks later, and then that just kept stretching out because there was so much uncertainty, and Prince George's County actually was hit really, really hard in the state of Maryland with those COVID numbers, with those COVID deaths. Unfortunately, we lost our County Support Center director, Denita Simpson, to COVID during October of 2020. So it's definitely been a very, very difficult time. But what I started off with saying that, we closed, and during that, we had already started doing all of the work for a new program called Family Connects Prince George's, which is basically from a model of a program called Family Connects America, that is out of North Carolina. And so we launched that program in November of 2020. And the idea is that we wanted to make sure that every child that was born in Prince George's County, or every mom that was giving birth in Prince George's County, had an opportunity to have 3 home visits with a registered nurse, just as a check-in. As a check-in, it's really difficult to have a baby. There's a lot of uncertainty. If you are a first-time mom, there's so many things that are unknown, and not everyone has the same support system. So to be able to come and say, "Hey, you just had a baby. We want to know how's it going. Did you already schedule your 6-week postpartum visit? Do you know that there is something called like blue crying, I believe is the term. I could be butchering the term, but it's, where there's prolonged periods of a baby crying, and it's pretty normal. What do you need to do to be able to cope with those things?" And so to be able to have a registered nurse, someone that already has knowledge and that is in the healthcare field, to be able to be accessible to the family for questions. And a lot of times, families that we are serving, there's many families that do have a great support system and just appreciate the check-in, and after their 3 visits, they are done and there's nothing to do. But during this time, we're also able to see, okay, this family needs a little bit more support. This is the program where it's the gateway to all of the different resources that maybe not only we offer, but other community organizations or other county entities could provide certain services to these families without them even knowing that they exist. So that is actually one of the, I'm really proud of that program. Because we were able to launch during the pandemic, and because it's been well received. So our administrative office is in Largo, Maryland. So it's like near the Upper Marlboro area, and actually, I believe it's the University of Maryland health system, like the new hospital that opened up in Largo. We've able to have one staff member housed there so that they can have access to to the families that, you know, that are bringing babies home, and so that they can have that extra layer of support, which, like I said, could mean something as simple as I need diapers, I need a car seat, or I'm good, thanks for checking in, and you know, there's nothing else to do. So that is one of the programs that I'm very, very proud, and that is growing, has steady growth, and it's definitely something that Prince Georgians needed.
Yenny, that sounds like a phenomenal program, especially the initiative taking off during when life changed for everyone during COVID-19 in 2020, and then it just all took off. That is a great program. You were all able to provide those resources when you all didn't even have, you know, the resources or that director, which I'm sorry that happened, as we did lose a lot of people, you know, during that time of uncertainty, but you all were still able to find ways to help others during that uncertain time. So I would say kudos to you and your team and this great initiative that you all did create and launch. And I'm glad that it is successful through you all's, you know, take off during that time. And so over the course of your experience, how have you seen the overall impact of your organization work in the county, in addition to this initiative you just discussed?
Yes, so we've been in the county for about 30 years. When we started 30 years ago, it looks completely different than who we are now. We started offering just support to families that were looking for licensed childcare. So, you know, there was we had like a little call center where people would call in, and we'll, you know, match them up with the childcare that they were looking for. So of course now, you know, I mean, who picks up the phone to call anybody? So, you know, eventually that shifted to online. So that, you know, that's like a huge change. But then it grew to be able to train childcare providers, right? So we want to make sure that the youngest of our Marylanders are being well taken care of. The youngest of our Prince Georgians are you know, in quality care, that are in just that are safe and healthy. So the way to do that is to train those caregivers that are at the front lines. And so that's what we've done, provide training and technical assistance and support to the child care community, to the early childhood educators. And that goes all the way from being a staff member at a licensed center, or being a family provider, which is basically a program within someone's home, you know, and they have to meet certain licensing requirements, and there's an inspection, and there are all sorts of things that need to be met in order for those things to be in place. And then launching our early childhood mental health program, which is where, you know, in Prince George's County, there were lots of little boys being expelled from preschool. You know, we're talking about 3-year-olds. Like, why is a 3-year-old being expelled from preschool? And why is it why does it seem like it's more African-American boys, right, being expelled? So it was like it's mostly boys of color that were being expelled. And that's why the early childhood mental program came to be, because it's like, how can we support the parents that are having to leave work to pick up their children, that are having to move their children around because the children are being pushed out of programs? And how can we support the children, and how can we support the people that are working with the children? So, you know, we have our early childhood mental health consultants are going in and discovering that, yeah, sometimes the child needs extra support, like there is something else going on. We refer them to our partners, but sometimes the teacher or whoever's running the program is the one that needs the support, because they're The expectation to have a 3-year-old sit still for 30 minutes in circle time is just not an appropriate expectation to have. So, we're going in there because we're getting a call about maybe one student, but a lot of times we're able to give tools to the staff, to the program, where it's not only going to positively impact that one student we were called in, but it's going to impact the entire classroom. So, that's definitely one of the programs too that came in a little bit later that right now is thriving as well. And then our family support center program, which is the Delphi location where you all have been, adopting families for about 8 years now. That program serves within a 3-mile radius. And so that population is a heavily immigrant refugee population, but we've seen the change. Maybe about 10 years ago, it was mostly a Latino community that was coming to the program, but now we're seeing Middle Eastern refugees. We're seeing a lot of Afghanistan refugees. We're seeing a lot of African refugees. So the makeup of those individuals that are utilizing our services is also changing. And the way that we answer to that call is, make sure that we have access to a language line that's in place so that language is not a barrier. Making sure we provide transportation, and childcare. We have a child development classroom. So it's usually moms. I don't think we would turn that away, but it's usually moms that come to us. So we have mom able to learn English, ESL, to be able to learn basic computer skills, to be able to have, like peer connections while their child is safe next door, like in the same building, and their child is getting appropriate child development instruction as well. And so we're eliminating, if transportation is the barrier, we're eliminating. If you can't come because you don't have diapers, we're providing diapers. If you let us know that you're going through a hard time and you might need a little bit of assistance with some groceries, we're providing that for you. And just making sure that we kind of like meet the call of our families, the urgency. A lot of things come up. And like I told you before, not each family has the same needs. So just trying to figure out how we meet you when you need us, or when the emergency arises. And then during the pandemic, it was very obvious that the child care sector, operating from a shoestring already, was hit really hard. These are mostly women. So these are business women that were needing assistance, that were, their children weren't going to school either. They were home, or they just didn't have any way to operate their businesses because of the restrictions, or because of fear as well. They tend to be an older population that is providing these services, and to be able to come to them and say, hey, we're here to help you. As nonprofits, as a nonprofit organization, we are nonpartisan, and as a nonprofit organization, we don't lobby, but we do like to educate our childcare sector into what's happening with local legislation, what's happening with local bills, and we want to be able to give them all the information that they need so that they can make their own informed decision, to be able to reach out to their local senators and just their county council members, their local delegates, so that they can let them know, hey, that bill that you want to pass, it will not work because of XYZ, or that bill that your colleague doesn't want to pass, please push it because we really need it for XYZ. So just being able to have that space, provide that safe space for these childcare providers that were really hurting, especially during the thick of the pandemic, and to be able to provide PPE so that they can safely operate their programs, to be able to provide we were able to get some grant funding so that we could provide like cash, essentially cash grants to them so that they could utilize them to do cleaning, to buy more PPE for their programs, and just anything that they might need to be able to run their programs safely. And, just being able to try to eliminate some of that legal ease that comes out of, let's say, certain grants that are being offered to the childcare providers that they even I look at it and I'm like, what does that mean? But being able to have, like that group and that space, and, we have a consultant that is very, very well versed in all of that language and what childcare providers need to do and why certain things work for them and not work for them. So just being able to provide that support, and, like I already said, our home visiting program and the way that has added a different layer to our services.
Thank you so much for going into depth, Yenny, on both of those programs. Those programs both seem like they are impactful and they were needed, and you all took action when needed. And then you provide all of the resources that anyone may need at any given time. I really applaud how you all meet each person where they are. And so that's best how you all can, make sure you fit their needs the best to you all's ability. So kudos to you and your team, if you don't know by now, but kudos is my word today for you, because you all are over there doing a phenomenal job. All right. So now we're going to move into segment 2, collaborations with Maryland Athletics and the Prince George's County Resource Center. So, as we all know, you mentioned it's been 8 years for this partnership. So let me explain a little on how we on the Maryland Athletic side handles the partnership before the families see and receive the gifts. So I reached out to Yenny. We have a few, check-in calls at mid-October, beginning of November, and she sends over the list of families from Prince George's County Resource Center who are in need of different items, and they're a wish list. So just like everyone creates a Christmas list, this is their Christmas list, and it's a wish list of different items, from toys to winter items, to notebooks, to pens, you name it, it is on that list. And so I pick apart the list and spread the list into 2 parts, some for the staff and then some for the students. And the students donate money, and then they go and they shop and build community amongst themselves while enjoying shopping. And then they have a wrapping party, which usually happens a week or so after they complete their shopping. And then the staff will, with their list, will also go and purchase gifts. And they have the option to either wrap those gifts themselves, put them under the tree, and the student athletes will come and pick those gifts up, bring those to the wrapping party to be a part of the pile with all the other gifts. Or we have some staff who like to come and enjoy the festivities. So there's usually music, food, and then we have those scissors and wrapping paper and tape as those student athletes are enjoying building community with each other. And so through this wrapping party, the staff and the students are able to build community to support Prince George's County Resource Center. And so following the wrapping party that we have annually, Yenny and I coordinate different dates for the student athletes to give give these gifts. And so I'll say in the process, the gifts are sorted. So usually when Yenny gets here, she just grabs them, goes and delivers them in their company van. And so I will say this year we have the opportunity to meet some of the families. And I will say I am excited, and I know the students are excited. So after the wrapping party, the students will be able to give their gifts to some of the kids and potentially their parents if they are there. And I am excited to see the faces of these kids because this is an opportunity that has not happened before, and I'm excited to see the student athletes' reactions as well. So, over the past 8 years, Maryland Athletics and PG County Resource Center have partnered to provide gifts to local families in need for the holiday season. Can you tell us how this collaboration came to be and why it's an important annual tradition?
So we started Holiday Helper because we would get inquiries from the community, about wanting to give back. A lot of people want to give back during the holidays. And so, knowing that we serve families, local families, sometimes people have, they want to give back in their backyard, basically. So, when we started it, it was small and it has grown. And even through COVID, you all, stuck with us, even though it was a different, I remember talking and not really knowing how we were going to make it happen because we were doing everything virtually, but, we pulled it off. So just being able to provide our families just with some holiday cheer. It is more than anything the goal to be able to connect them with other community members and to say there's someone out there that hopes that you have a great holiday season. And, because we do have a very diverse cultural makeup of our families, we do try to keep that in mind. And we, that's why we just kind of call it Holiday Helper. We don't necessarily highlight a certain holiday, but that's basically how it started. Just the community wanting to give back and wanting to make sure that families were happy for the holidays and that children are receiving gifts. If you're a child, that's what it's all about.
Right.
Just unwrapping those gifts. And so to be able to provide that, we don't have the capacity nor the funds to be able to do that for all of our families. So being able to partner with University of Maryland and just with other local community groups or just individuals to be able to do that, it's always an honor because it takes time to coordinate. It's money that needs to be put in to be able to provide and purchase these gifts for the family. So we are just grateful to be able to have these partnerships with our community.
Awesome. And so we kind of mentioned, COVID-19 and the change. And so since prior to this experience we're about to have with giving the gifts to the families, can you share the experience of when you all go and drop those gifts off to some of the families, if it is, their first time being a part of the program?
Yeah, we have, we've seen people drop to their knees in tears just because they're so grateful. Because, we try not to overpromise. We don't say you're going to get all of the things. We just try to say, make your wish list. And they're so modest. Some of our families, they're so shy, and they're just, time and time again, it's like, I'm just grateful for the free services I'm receiving. It's they don't want to ask for stuff, or a lot of times it'll be like, I just want to be able to have a nice holiday dinner with my family. So I will be happy with a grocery gift card. And so when they receive gifts and they are, sometimes receiving for all the children, not necessarily just the child that receives services with us, they are just overwhelmed. They are joyous. They are so grateful, and you can see the gratitude. And a lot of times, because of cultural differences or just because of the experiences that these participants are facing in their countries, this is the first time they might be receiving gifts. So it's like such a beautiful feeling. So we try to come with the most respect. And, we want to make sure that we treat all of our families with dignity. So even though these families are experiencing challenges, we don't want to highlight that, we're giving to them because they are, I guess, let's say they're in need. So we want to make sure that we approach them with dignity and with the utmost respect, with cultural humility, so that they can see that we are giving and our partners are giving just from the kindness of their heart. And I think that's the most important thing.
Oh, that warms my heart. All right. Well, we're going to move on to segment 3. So, how to get involved in the community. Outside of this annual event with our student athletes, are there other programs that you provide for families during the holiday season that our students could get involved in?
Specifically during the holiday season, not necessarily, especially right now, because there's still lots of, people are still trying to do the minimum as far as like exposing themselves. But like, for example, we've had groups do like virtual reading, like story time. Like that's something that could be a possibility. We haven't done our conference in the last 3 years since we had to close in March 2020. But when we do have our conference for child care providers, for early childhood educators, it is usually about 600 attendees. Like that's another opportunity that we could, the more hands, the better, and just be able to provide an opportunity for students to be involved. But I think more than anything, we are actually revisiting what our volunteer program should be, and how, taking so many things that are in place now into consideration to see how we can strengthen that and build it up and provide those opportunities for the community. Like, for example, we had to reopen our center because it was closed, and because we are located in a pretty old school building, there was so much to do to get it up to par and safe for when we opened back like in August. And so we had some volunteers help us build new playground equipment, help paint, help rearranging things, hauling debris out of there. So I mean, there's different opportunities that we can definitely look into and foster for a future collaboration.
Sounds great. We will be in touch about those opportunities. Student athletes love giving back in the community. Yenny, now that we know what community is, how the partnership between athletics and Prince George's Child Resource Center has grown over the years, and how people can get involved with your office, let's explore the local, national, and global communities that we should be looking to assist moving forward. Do you feel like since the start of COVID-19, the willingness to give back has shifted the way people get involved in the community? You did just kind of mention, the virtual reading. But, how has that changed? Like, have you seen a lack of volunteers? Have you seen more volunteers? How has that changed, or have you seen outside changes? Like, are more people needing, more help now, or is it the same?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of different things that have have happened because of the pandemic. As far as like the need, there is definitely so I'll give you an example. Like, for example, we were worried about doing virtual because we didn't know what the learning curve would look like for all of our programs, for our home visiting program, for our family support center program, for our early childhood education program. And but we realized that people stepped up to the plate, so there was a learning curve, but then people just were, it took off, and people were coming to their Zoom lessons, and people were doing FaceTiming for home visits. So, and once a lot of the restrictions eased up, we've never thought of doing a home visit outside. Like why? Like, why didn't we ever think of that? So it's like, so you get creative. And, before we didn't offer training to childcare providers because it didn't seem like that was a thing that was of interest, but we figured it out. We did it. And guess what? They were showing up to the classes, So I think that just seeing how people rise to answer the current need. Like, for example, we thought, well, we're probably not going to be to capacity at our family support center because it's going to be a deterrent to have to do these sessions online. But actually, people were staying longer because then it became more convenient. Because then it was like, I don't have to worry about transportation. I don't have to worry about all the other things that seem to provide challenges. And because they didn't want to just be in the weeds of isolation. So even though it was virtual, it was a community. It was a safe community. It was, making those peer connections. And so just seeing that there was a need. And we had quite a few people during this time saw that, like, diaper need. Even though we're not an organization that usually deals with food insecurity, during the pandemic, we partnered with a county council member to be able to do a food drive. So people would come through. I mean, and we're talking about like thousands of boxes of food given away weekly, and it was for about 6 or 8 weeks. So I mean, just seeing the possibilities. And, seeing that, before the ask were, let's say, like transportation to pediatrician's appointment. And then, it turned into, well, we don't have money for groceries, or recently one of the things has been, we can't afford to have like COVID tests to test ourselves when we're feeling symptoms, and being able to provide that, and just being able to have our community want to donate like the basic, diaper needs, formula, stuff like that families are really in need of. So just seeing that the community is stepping up to meet that need.
Ooh. Sorry.
It's okay.
Ooh. 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 I don't know what just happened. Ooh. That was great that you all were able to connect with the community and still fulfill the needs of those in your own community. So, Yenny, what is the best way that the people can support the work you and your staff are doing?
Can you say that one more time?
So what is the best way that the people can support the work you and your staff are doing? And can you give our listeners a call to action on how they can, I'm sorry, We can edit all this.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So I think more than anything, the call to action would be, there's so much power in our youth. As University of Maryland having, technology natives, which is, where people that are born into technology, right. Having people that are, educated, people that are have that voice and have the different platforms to be able to utilize them to help the community. I think that is so strong. Like, for example, early childhood education, to be able to understand how, like I was telling you earlier, how we're building brains and we can't do it alone. And how building brains and providing this foundation doesn't only help the parents of these children. It doesn't only help, the schools. It doesn't only help the work. It is, for the benefit of society. So being able to advocate for early childhood education, being able to advocate for, any education services so that all children can be ready to enter school, being able to advocate for those that do not have a voice, those that are not technology savvy or technology native, being able to step up and be that voice, that would be my call to action. You mentioned the wrapping party that I actually attended one wrapping party. I think it might have been in 2019 or before that. But I just remember feeling just the energy of these young people and the enthusiasm of, that big ballroom or whatever that big room was where I was in, and everybody, wrapping gifts, putting pretty bows, having hot chocolate, and just, doing this for people that you don't know. That needs to keep going, because that is the only way that change is going to happen. That is what Prince George's County needs, to be able to have those people that, can look and say, I want to be a part of change, and I want to be a part of this community, even though I don't have children. Because it's not about that. A lot of people sometimes think, well, I don't have a child, or my having children days are over, but it's not about that. It's about having this foundation that is going to be the future, and that is going to be our future legislators, our future educators, our future engineers, our future doctors, and being part of that. I think that, for me, that's my call to action.
Yenny let you all know her call to action is to be an advocate. If you want to help with change, you need to reach out to Yenny and Prince George's County Resource Center between now, 2023, and in the near future, because that organization is the place to be. Lastly, to have a little fun to end this conversation, I'd like to do a little rapid fire with you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Hot cocoa or eggnog?
I'm gonna go with eggnog.
Okay. Typical American dish or tamales?
Oh my gosh, tamales all the way, tamales. Especially my mom's Mexican tamales. Those are the best.
Uh-oh, your mom must have some competition then. Snowman or snowflakes?
Oh, let's do the snowman. I feel like I haven't built a good snowman in forever. It has to be that perfect snowfall and that just perfect snow to pack it all in and to stay in.
Right, to decorate it with, the eyes and then the nose, and you got to put on the hat and the scarf. Because if it's not firm snow, it's going to fall apart.
Yep, no good.
No good. That was the good snow. What happened to the firm snow? All right. The Grinch movie or the Elf movie?
Oh, the Elf. Elf is such a cute movie. And I'm feeling jolly and happy, not grinchy.
All right. And then we're going to start with reindeers. Rudolph the reindeer or Dasher the reindeer?
Team Rudolph all the way.
Oh, so are
I'm
you
rooting for that red nose.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer?
Yes, all the way. I just don't have a singing voice, so I will spare you.
Me either, because I thought about going there.
No, that was pretty good.
All right. Looking for ways to give back to the community you live in? Follow the Maryland Made TERP social media accounts and check out the Prince George's County Resource website to get started leaving an impact in your community. Yenny, thank you for being my guest. Happy holidays and go TERP.
Thank you so much, Sydnee. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.